everybody. Welcome back to the Florida Band Podcast. My name is Christian Gordon. I'm one of the band directors at West Glades Middle School in Parkland, Florida. And today I'm joined with my associate director, Kalyn Todd.
Hi, I'm Kalyn Todd. I teach at West Glades with Christian, and we're actually in Georgia right now working a band camp. So we're just recording this before we go in to teach our last day of camp at Harris County High School.
Yeah, we're in Harris County, which is Hamilton, Pine Mountain. We've had a really good time here to enjoy the scenery. We went to the FDR State Park and Museum, which was awesome. And overall, the scenery's been very nice. We found a really nice Mexican spot. Mexican's my favorite food. But it's been a lot of fun. Today's our last day, but before we see the kids one last time, we wanted to record this episode for you guys, which is about our pass-off system, which is basically how we assess our students, but in reality, it's much, much more than that. Mm-hmm. What we're going to do today is go through our pass-off guidelines, which are basically an outline of the way we use the pass-offs and expectations that go along with the pass-offs that we give to all our students and our clinicians as well. And it is a living document, so every year or as we experience the pass-offs more and more, we kind of update what's on this guidelines list, but we're just going to go over it the way it is right now. And the first thing that's on the guidelines is an explanation of what they are. So I'm going to go ahead and read that, and then we'll talk about some of the bullet points. So pass-offs are short exercises or tasks, which can be playing, verbal, written, or otherwise, intended to demonstrate the mastery of a certain skill or skills by each student. Students must have a growth mindset and practice the following in order to see the most progress. And the following bullets are: talent is grown, risk-taking and challenges are essential to growth, failure is a natural part of learning and vital to our growth, effort beats talent, focus drives effort, effort drives performance, therefore effort counts twice. Feedback is important to our success. Self-assessment helps us reflect on our growth and explore areas to grow. The opposite of success is quitting, not failure. So, Kalyn, do you have any thoughts about any of those so far?
I like that we have started to incorporate growth mindset activities and growth mindset reflections with our students. And especially pointing out this stuff right at the start, right at the top of our pass-off page, I think is important, because students in school, the way that they're currently graded in most of our schools is you get one shot to do it, and you teach to the test and you study to the test and make an A or don't, and in our class, it's different. We don't care if they don't pass a pass-off right away. We don't care if they make mistakes. The important part is taking that feedback and applying it and trying again until you do pass it and until you master it.
Yeah, which is awesome. Now, we do teach to the pass-offs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of like teaching to the test. But the difference is the pass-offs are skills that they're going to need as musicians, regardless of what level musician they are. They're basically fundamental skills.
Right.
Or they're exercises that will demonstrate a fundamental skill. The difference is, though, I think you were trying to say is, for example, a typical math test, you only get one shot to take it. Now, maybe you get extended time if you have an IEP or a 504, or maybe if you were absent that day, you can set up a time to make up the test. Sometimes the teacher will pass back the test and say if you got lower than a C, you can retry the test, but you can only cap at 10 extra points or something like that. What we try to do is just to give all of those benefits to all our students at all times within certain parameters. And so, for example, a B-flat concert scale pass-off at 80 beats per minute, needs to be played a certain way. But the student has unlimited tries to get that pass-off, 6th through 8th grade, literally. We'll get into what motivates them to do it as fast as possible. But we foster a growth mindset so that students who move slower than others are still seeing progress and can move at their own pace. Yeah, so talent is grown. So basically what we try to foster in our program is that regardless of your ability as you come in, you're going to have to work if you want to get better, if you want to be your best, regardless of how much innate talent or previous skill you've already built up coming into our class. We do encourage risk-taking. We'll talk about how we do that. And we emphasize how failure is a good thing. Effort beats talent. Feedback. Our students get tired of hearing from us.
Yeah,
I think because
so.
we give so much feedback, and we'll explain how we do that. Self-assessment. We do incorporate a lot of self-assessment into our feedback system. And obviously the opposite of success is quitting, not a failure. So as long as a student doesn't give up, they're successful.
Right.
All right, so let's go into some of these pass-off guidelines. Number 1 is pass-offs must demonstrate mastery of the skill. So here's an explanation. Pass-offs are graded as pass or try again. Notice how it's not pass or fail. The goal is 100% accuracy. That is the goal. However, nothing is ever going to be 100% accurate. But as long as the student is striving towards that, we as the director or you as the director determine what that 100% mastery and accuracy is. Mm-hmm. So, but what that will entail is observing all components of performance, which include posture, carriage, breathing, tone, rhythm, timing, intonation, technique, dynamics, articulations, breath marks or phrases, tempo, attention to detail, etc. Now that might seem like a lot, but a lot of these is already built into your teaching probably.
Right.
You know, teaching rhythms and using a metronome and teaching correct notes and things like that. And as students perform pass-offs for us, we remind them about some of these things. It's just part of being a musician. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the times in the typical assessment that band directors give, those that give like playing assessments and stuff, sometimes they're just assessing one skill. Like, can you play a B flat major scale? But they don't necessarily include in that rubric sometimes tone quality and posture and rhythm and facility of the fingers. And I think that that's an important difference between playing tests and the pass-off system, is we're striving for every single student, whether they're a beginner and in their first week of playing, or an 8th grader who's about to go to 9th grade, every single student has to play with the best tone quality possible, with the correct posture, everything included, while they're also demonstrating mastery of whatever the skill is for the pass-off.
Mm-hmm. Now, the list here I've also seen on rubrics for like an etude test or an exercise test. But, I've seen on those rubrics where you could score out of like 1 out of 5 for each of these categories, or 1 out of 10. And ideally you want 10s on everything. So why stop at giving them a 7 on something and then letting them be a 7 all the way up until their next test?
Like, why let a kid sit with slouchy posture and say, that's a 5? You don't want that on stage. And so...
Right. They're going to go, okay, well, I'm okay with a 5, so I'm going to stay slouchy, the rest of the time I play this instrument.
Gives me half the credit.
And then you make them feel bad for getting a 5 too, instead of saying, you're good enough to be a 10 if you just sit up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's why we've gotten rid of the rubric. The guidelines are here as the quote-unquote rubric, but we don't write anything down when a student plays a pass-off for us. We give them very specific feedback and send them on their way to try again.
Yep.
Can you go over numbers 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah. The expectation of mastery is higher for third-year players and first-year players. So obviously a kid that's in their first week of playing their instrument for us is going to have different tone quality than an 8th grader about to go to 9th grade. But the important thing is we have them strive for the best tone possible, for that great tone quality that we've taught them from the beginning, so students don't get into bad habits right away. Number 2 is that metronomes can be heard along with the submission. Okay, so they can use a metronome to play their scales or anything that it requires a certain tempo. That's totally fine with us. But they do need to play with the metronome.
And it needs to be heard on the recording.
Yes, yeah. We need to be able to hear it to tell that they're playing with it. Headphones, play-along tracks, and other aids other than a tuner and metronome are not allowed during recordings unless explicitly assigned to that pass-off. From my memory, we don't have any that include anything on headphones, like a play-along track or anything like that.
No, but it's just there just in case.
Right. Because we do have students that'll have, like, AirPods in.
Yeah.
And submit their pass-off, and we'll turn it back around to them and say, submit it again without your headphones.
We encourage, like, if that's how they want to practice, that's totally fine. But when it comes down to getting that pass-off point is, no headphones, please.
Right.
So, and sometimes they just forget.
Yep.
And we're never mean about, like, you can't have headphones. It's just like, can you please remove your headphones and try it again?
Yeah.
And the reason we know is because these submissions are actually videos, because obviously we can't assess posture if it's just audio.
Right.
Letter B underneath demonstrate mastery of the skill. If there is any mistake within a pass-off, the director will give specific feedback to the student, and the student may attempt the pass-off again another time. So basically, that is what it says it is, and it's unlimited tries. We give very specific feedback. We try to keep it as short as possible, whether it's in person or online. And we try to give them at just 1 or 2 at a time. Yep. Things, especially if there's a lot of mistakes, or we suggest a different pass-off to do to help build up to the one that they just attempted.
And it depends on the student too. Like if it's a student that we know can only take one little piece of feedback at a time, we're only going to give one at a time. Say, fix this thing first, send it back. And then the next submission, we'll say, okay, now fix this.
The director reserves the right to limit the number of attempts the student makes in one day. The student needs ample time to practice and improve a skill, rather than rushing through the process of trying to pass off a skill. So this is just classic cramming for the test. There are some pass-offs where they can cram for it, like a memorization pass-off where they're reciting terms and definitions or something. Right. If they're constantly trying the same pass-off in a day, we'll limit the number of attempts simply so that we, in hopes that they retain the information. Yep. Because once they pass it off, they've passed it off. In that case, sometimes we'll redo a pass off on different levels to make sure that they retain it. But we'll talk about levels in a second too. Okay, can you do number 2 for us?
Yeah. Students have a certain level of autonomy. I think this is my favorite one.
Oh, actually, before you do that, the guidelines cover mastery, autonomy, and purpose. Those are the 3 main focuses of the pass-offs, which are from the book Drive by Daniel H. Pink. Okay, number 2. You said students have a certain level of autonomy. So.
Yeah. So I think autonomy is my favorite part. Let me go over the 2 little bullet points under number 2, the autonomy one, and then we'll kind of dive into why we like this process. Point A is pass-offs within each level can be completed in any order. Okay, so we have different levels. We have levels 1 through 5 right now. We had to create
0 through 5.
Oh, sorry, 0 through 5. We had to create a level 5 recently. But within, level 1, they could complete pass-off number 16 first, and they could go back and do number 2, whatever order they want to. Okay, and then the reason for that is students don't always accomplish the same skill at the same time as everybody else in their class.
So like for example, we used to give playing tests when we first started teaching, and I learned that from my band director. You learned that from your band directors, I'm sure. Giving the same test on the same day to students that are on different levels and who are different types of learners and different types of players is inefficient. Yeah. Unfortunately to say. No offense to teachers that do playing tests. If it works for you, that's fine. But we just found that, some students might be ready to play that B-flat concert scale test on the day, and they'll retain that information. Other students will cram for it and then forget it. And then other students just won't even bother trying to do it. And so we give them an objective sheet, which we call a level, and numbers 0 through 6 or 1 through 16 or 1 through 24, it doesn't matter. Whatever's on that level, they can complete it in any order that they want within certain parameters. And that parameter would be, within the first quarter or first semester or whatever you decide, you need to complete that level or this number of pass-offs. But they get to choose on that level, which is really cool.
So think about taking a kid who maybe is not very confident in your class. Maybe they're one of the lower players in their section, and they come in on playing test day and they know they're going to bomb it in front of everybody or just in front of you, and they're going to make a 70 on their playing test and really not feel good about anything when they leave your room. Transfer that over to pass-offs. Give that kid a choice out of 16. Which one do you want to complete first? What are you best at that you can try today?
Mm-hmm.
That changes that child's attitude in your class, and it changes the way that they act towards attempting anything, any skill on their instrument, any memorization pass-off, any composition pass-off. It completely changes the way that they feel about music, I think.
I agree. And it's more like a project.
Yeah.
Simply because they get the level as soon as they start playing their instrument. In fact, they get all the levels, right?
Yeah.
But they can only start on one level, on the first level, and they can't move on to the next level until they've completed that first level. So that would be a parameter that we follow. Yes, you can work in any order that you want, but one of the rules is you have to finish a level before going to the next level. And then each level is well-rounded, and we'll talk about how it is either this episode or on a follow-up episode. But
bullet point B under autonomy is pass-off goals set for each class each quarter can be completed anytime within said quarter for full credit.
Yeah, so this eliminates dealing with late work.
Yep.
This eliminates
changing grades.
Changing grades. From a 70 to 100 or whatever it is. This eliminates having to redo tests. So a student doesn't have to come to you and say, can I retry this scale test because I was absent or I don't like my grade? Yep. Something like that. Because on a pass-off day or whenever or however you decide to do pass-offs, they get to pick what they do for you. And so that's completely up to you.
Think about this too. Those of you that do playing tests, when a student, scores a 50 or something on a playing test, or many students do, how many parent emails do you get about why did they get that grade? When can they retry it? When are you going to change that grade? All that stuff is eliminated with the pass-offs. I'm not saying we don't get emails about pass-offs, but we get a lot fewer.
Yes.
Than when we did playing tests.
Mm-hmm. And so we already went over number 3. All pass-offs within a level must be completed before moving on to the next level. Let's pause and just talk about the levels for just a second. So we basically thought through backwards design, what do we want our students to be able to do by the time they leave our band room at the end of 8th grade going into high school? And we took that and kind of designed this our levels out, into scales. What scales do we want them to play and how fast and in what pattern? What exercises out of their method book, based on the rhythms that we want them to learn? Do we want to assess them on different composition techniques, like time signatures and rhythmic values and beaming? What terms we want them to know? We developed all these little exercises or objectives or assignments, put them all in levels and broke them down so everything is scaffolded. So like level 0, for example, has 0 playing of the instrument. It's stuff like how to assemble your instrument, how to make the correct sound on the mouthpiece, do these beginner theory exercises, things like that. It's very, very simple. And so at first when we started talking about all the mastery part of the pass-offs and how all these expectations are started from day one of them starting pass-offs, just think though, They just need to demonstrate mastery of how to hold their instrument.
Right.
You know? And so they start that way, and it's kind of a snowball effect, because once they start feeling that success from level 0, which is super easy stuff, they roll over into level 1, which has a few more than level 0 and has some playing on it, into level 2, into level so on and so forth. It kind of snowballs into a really, really well-rounded, functional musician by the end of their 8th grade year.
What I really like about level 0 too is that we make them play the mouthpieces. So you've got your clarinet players who are, beginners. We start them on mouthpiece and barrel on clarinet. They've got to be able to play an F sharp in tune. So you're checking to see if their tongue position's correct through that pass-off, right? If it's too flat, you have to tell them to raise the tongue. You're checking for that flat chin in the embouchure. So it gives you the chance too to like really slow down and assess what they know, and if they're able to do it correctly before you move on to shoving them onto the full instrument.
Right. I mean, that's actually a great example of a pass-off. We didn't start with a level 0.
Right.
But we found out that, my clarinets don't know how to play in tune.
Yeah.
So I started like teaching them how to play in tune with correct embouchure and tongue placement using mouthpiece and barrel. And then I go, wait a second. I could just make this a pass-off. It'll motivate them to practice this. And then boom, we have a great clarinet section, the next year or two. So
and your saxophones, like putting them on mouthpiece and neck, we really don't have the volume problems with our saxophone section that we used to have when we started teaching before we broke it down for them.
But that's just one thing. As we go through year after year of teaching band, we find, we didn't cover this this year, and now we're kind of suffering for it.
Yep.
Or the students are kind of having a hard time because we didn't cover it. Let's put it in our pass-off curriculum so we know to teach it. And we basically teach to our pass-off curriculum. As each school year goes on, we start with level 0, and our class time is spent teaching the pass-offs, which are playing on the mouthpiece, counting rhythms, and anything that you would normally do in a band class, anything you want them to be good at, we put it in a pass-off.
Right.
And so that's how that came about. Okay, so number 4. Pass-offs may be completed in class only during a designated pass-off day. So let's actually go straight into the bullets here. So letter A is... first, a pass-off day is like a playing test day. You already do this, but it's different, and we'll tell you how. It is the goal of the director to hear every single student play every single week. Students must be prepared to at least attempt their pass-offs ahead of class so that their attempt takes 1 minute or less. So, you kind of already do this in a playing test day. The only difference is each student is playing something different for you.
And probably your class sits there silent during playing test days. We don't do that.
We don't do that. We let students practice while students are coming up to our desk or wherever we're seated to play pass-offs. So students are practicing 1 day a week. It's just a practice day, which is really awesome. Letter B. Depending on the class size and speed of the director listening to each student, all students may or may not get to attempt a pass-off. Yes, that's true. Sometimes we have large class sizes. We don't get to every student. If 2 weeks pass and you have not played for the director, please respectfully bring this to the director's attention. So the reason that's in there is because when we got to Westglades is a large school, and we had large class sizes. And we did not get to every student, especially if it was just one of us teaching a class of 50 or 60. And so I wasn't able to get to everybody in 1 week. And students were wondering, well, I didn't get to play for you this week, this and that. And so they just need to let us know that they want to play for us. But we also allow them to submit online. And during COVID season, we figured out a way to hear every kid once a week, whether it's in person, online, without fail. And we'll talk about that. Yeah, and we'll talk about that. Do you have anything to add to that, or should I go to the next one?
Nope, go to the next one.
When students are not performing a pass-off for the director, they are to be seated and practicing for a pass-off. The director may also designate material for students to practice during the pass-off day. More distractions from those not following the rules means less students that get to attempt pass-offs. This is basically in there to encourage students to stay on task so that we can hear as many students as possible. But let's say you're getting ready for a concert.
Yep.
On your board or on your screen with your announcements, what we do is, hey, today's a pass-off day. And it's usually the same day every week, but sometimes it changes. But we put it on the board anyway, and it's a pass-off day. They come in, they see it. Today's a pass-off day. So, and they know it's coming because it comes every single week. So we'll put pass-off day. You're in your chair. You're working on whatever pass-off you want to attempt for us. Also, you have a concert coming up in 2 weeks. Please work on measures 1 through 50 on this song. Or clarinets, make sure that you can play this section, by tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So not only are you practicing your pass-offs, but we also want you to practice this. Also practice your warm-up or your technique builder. This specific exercise, So students are always busy on pass-off days. So it's a noisy band room, but it's a productive band room.
And the other thing they can do too is, we'll talk about submissions outside of class in just a minute, but they can also video submissions and submit them to us online during that time as well. So, they could get more than one pass-off done in a week.
Mm-hmm. So the letter D is actually pretty interesting. There may also be opportunities for students to complete pass-offs with a clinician. So at our school in our area, which is South Florida, Broward County, when we moved here, we realized that a lot of schools around here hire outside staff, outside musicians to come in and work with their students on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. What we've settled on doing is typically twice a month, each instrument will have a professional that comes in, pulls them out of class, and works with them on instrument-specific stuff. So our clarinet person comes twice a month. Oboe person comes twice a month. Give or take, sometimes things come up, testing, concerts, holidays, things like that. But what we aim for is twice a month, and we can talk, that's a whole nother episode about how we do clinicians. But what we are hoping to move towards is having the clinicians who understand these guidelines help us with checking students off on their progress.
Right.
This is especially helpful if you have very motivated students.
And motivated clinicians.
Right. But what I mean is very motivated students that want to get pass-offs done. Maybe they feel stuck and they feel more comfortable with a clinician than submitting to you or playing for you. Or you just have a large program and you need help getting students going. Because sometimes, not sometimes, it's guaranteed that at some point a student will hit a wall of some sort on these pass-off levels, and sometimes having a clinician or somebody helping you to get things passed off, it will be very helpful. So we're looking forward to incorporating that as soon as possible. The only caveat for that would be private lessons teachers. We don't know the private lesson teacher of every student, and so we don't allow them to do pass-offs for private lessons teachers necessarily. But students do sign up for private lessons to work on their pass-offs.
Yep.
And because they're very motivated to get them done. We'll tell you why in a second. But their private teachers will also contact us and go, can I get the rest of these pass-offs?
Yeah.
Because these are kind of cool. Because now I don't need to think about what we should work on next.
Exactly.
It's a list of everything from day 1 of 6th grade to the last day of 8th grade, what they should be working on, which they really appreciate.
The reason that we don't let them do it with their private lesson teachers is because we want to make sure anybody passing them off on stuff has the same expectations that we do. You can't let their tone quality suffer. You can't let technique suffer, posture, any of that stuff. So that's why that's in there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what's great about the clinicians is they help us teach those things. So,
right.
We hire them based on, are you on board with how we do band? You know? And they all are. And so whenever they come in, we're like, we've been going over posture, please teach them posture. And we also lean on them for how it should be taught too, because we're not masters on all the instruments. So we do have certain things that we expect, but otherwise, whatever they are teaching the students, we go along with as well. So it's a very symbiotic relationship there. Mm-hmm. Okay, number 5. This is the cool one. Well, one of the cool ones. All right. Pass-offs may be completed online. 24/7, 365. So that means all year, summer break, winter break, fall break, spring break, 2 a.m. If you're homesick that day, you can do pass-off. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. We allow students to submit to us online via email or through our band app, and they can send in as many as they want. So the rest of the bullets are basically just instructions on how to do that. Actually, this is actually a good point to mention what we started doing during COVID season. So
Yes.
Before virtual learning, students would get their participation grade for basically having their materials in class, paying attention in class, not being disruptive. If they were doing what you would expect a normal band student to do, they would get a 100 for that week.
So most of them would have a 100.
For their participation. And it was basically free money, free grades, free points for thank you for taking our class and being a good student.
Yeah.
Right? When virtual learning hit and students were online, we were giving away free points for literally nothing, you know? And so students, we switched it so that students that turned in a pass-off that week, at least one, either turned it in or did it for us live online or in person if they were in person. If they attempted it, didn't have to pass, attempted it, they got their participation points for that week. And so that was also great because that allowed us to count their effort twice, because they attempted it, they got points. They attempt it and then they pass it, they got even more points.
Yep.
So because they got the participation grade and then they got the pass-off grade. And we'll talk about how we do the grades probably at the end of this episode, how we incorporate pass-offs into our grades. Do you have anything to add to how we did that?
That goes back to those bullet points at the beginning, that effort beats talent. Focus drives effort, effort drives performance. Therefore, effort counts twice.
Exactly.
So we really, truly incorporated that into the grading system. And it's been better for the students, because those students that are struggling or hit a wall and aren't passing a pass-off, but they're attempting it over and over and over and over again, they're getting that credit for their effort.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, number 6, and then there's number 7, and then I guess we'll just wrap it up there. So number 6, mastered skills help the musician develop their purpose. So this is the third basically foundational aspect next to autonomy and purpose that we incorporate into our pass-offs. So their purpose is, as members of the ensemble improve their individual skills, the quality of the ensemble as a whole improves. And I think I'm going to edit this to put the quality of the ensemble experience as a whole. Because it's not just how you sound. That's, you know, some kids come to band because, oh, it sounds so cool, right? But when the band is successful, the morale is up, and so their student engagement, which a lot of students join band just because their friends are in, they love socializing, the student engagement gets better. Obviously, we're happier because they sound better, and so, you know, we have less doom and gloom days before a concert, things like that. Obviously, having a better band program provides more opportunities, not just in the literature you can play, but where you can perform and things like that, obviously. And so the overall experience improves as students work towards mastery of their individual skills.
And that gets out to the community as well, because when students are having a good time in our class, they go tell their friends, and they tell incoming students, and they tell their parents, and their parents tell their friends. Right.
So actually, here's an example. So when our second year at Westglades, we went from having 12 students our first year in the all-county band to 26 students the second year. And we ended up being the number 1 school as far as representation in the all-county band.
And Broward.
Yeah, Broward. And that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
And there's one explanation. It's because we've built the pass-off levels in a way where it prepares them to audition for bands like all-county, all-state, things like that. And that just helped improve the overall experience of the band. They felt really good about that. And then when they actually went to the all-county band experience, they knew, you know, a quarter of the band was if you think about it, a quarter of the band was Westglades, which was really cool to see.
Especially in a county like Broward, where there
which is huge.
So many middle schools.
Which is really cool. So that was really awesome.
And by the time they hit level 2 and they complete those scales and the sight reading, they're prepared for all county.
Yep. And then number 7, pass-offs are used to determine how advanced the student is. This will be reflected in chair and band placements during middle school band. Each pass-off is worth 1 point, with some events being worth more. And there's a link to where students can keep track of their points. So, this is actually a big one, and it's the last one. But points, what the heck is that? So, yes, we've basically gamified, or whatever word you want to use, our assessments. So, as students complete pass-offs, they earn points, and there's a link to a database that they can see where it checks off exactly what pass-offs they've completed and how many points they have. Okay? The more points you have, the higher up in chair you sit. So we have eliminated the need for chair tests. Also, the more points you have, the better chance you have of being in the top band. Okay? Going into 7th or 8th grade. So we've eliminated the need for placement tests. It allows us to group students based on their ability levels. So differentiation is automatically done through pass-offs. Students with more points are grouped together in one class. Students with less points are grouped together in the same class. And you can base your curriculum and how you teach off of that, which is really, really cool.
Not only all of that, but we've also eliminated dealing with parents upset about why their child didn't get into the top band based on their audition.
Yeah, actually, I had a message from one of our students who has asked several times, how many pass-offs do I need to get into symphonic band?
Right.
And when they ask those questions, it's really just black and white. It's have more than everybody else.
Yeah.
If you want to guarantee that you're in the top band, get as close to the top out of the entire band program as possible. That does mean that all the students can see who has how many points. But so far it has not been a negative experience. We've made it in such a way that everybody understands that people grow at different paces and things like that. And it's not like we post it on the wall in the band room.
Right.
They have to go to this link to go and check it if they really care about what they're doing, but they're paying more attention to how many points they have than they are about how many points someone else doesn't have.
Right.
So far, no issues. We've been doing this 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
No issues with that. But also, you could just tailor this to how your student body would and parent body would react to it. But regardless, the point is that it's up to the student to decide what band they're in. It's up to the student to decide what chair they are. So if they don't have enough points to be first chair, all they need to do is get points. If a student messages us and says, or a parent says, my child should be in the top band, they take lessons and they're a dedicated student, we 100% agree with them. We go, yes, I agree. The only thing is, I can put them in that band as long as they get more points.
Right.
And so if a student hasn't been doing their pass-offs lately or anything like that, and somebody else has, and they move ahead, hey, keep up. Otherwise, I can't put you in a class with somebody that's going to work twice as hard as you.
Yep.
There's going to be problems there as far as the pacing goes. So it also says here that other events are worth more than 1 point. This is where you can get really fun and creative. So when a student makes all county band, we give them extra points, like 10 points. If they make all state band, we want them in the top band. We want them to be first chair, so we give them a ton of points, 50 points.
Yeah.
If they make the all state band,
you can choose whatever you want.
Literally anything. You can offer bonus points. Like, let's say you want to teach your clarinets to go over the break, right? You can say, I'm going for 1 week only, I'm going to offer 2 bonus points.
Yeah.
To any clarinet player that can play their low E and then add the register key to play their long B. If they can do that by the end of the week, boom, 2 extra bonus points. And the kids go crazy for that. They're like, I need points, I want to be the best.
Spring break too. Over breaks, we'll be like, if you submit, sometimes, you submit a pass-off over spring break between this day and this day, we'll give you 2 points.
If that works for you. We're in a community where at our last school that worked.
Yes.
We're in a community now where people fly to Israel and Europe and Germany for spring break, and they'll be on some island somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle or something, and for a week. So what we've done is, like, not necessarily during a break, but maybe right after a break when a quarter starts.
Right. Yeah.
We'll do, if you pass any pass-offs this week, it'll be worth double points, or we'll do like class challenges called like Scale Wars. We'll do like tournaments and stuff, and if you're one of the top 3, you get extra points, or different things like that. Whatever thing that can keep things fresh or keep your kids motivated, you can do to you can use as extra points. Oh, another one is like solo ensemble. If you participate in solo ensemble and you get a certain rating, you get bonus points, things like that. We also offer extra credit. Like, let's say that you've hit a wall in your pass-offs, you can instead do a solo and earn points that way, versus doing this pass-off. You can keep working on that pass-off for another quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it. What it really comes down to is knowing your band and what motivates them. But we found, regardless if we're in rural Georgia or we're in highly populated suburban affluent South Florida, the pass-off system works.
Yep.
So, and we also have friends that use it at different scenarios as well, which we'll probably bring on the podcast in the future. What do you have there, Ms. Todd?
I was looking at the database, because it always blows my mind to see how many points certain students have, and like our top player in symphonic band, a tuba player, has 283 pass-off points. Mm-hmm. Now he's made some honor bands and stuff in there.
Well, yeah. So let's actually talk about this one student. He just finished 7th grade.
Yep.
Highly motivated student. He came in thinking he wanted to play the trumpet. Mm-hmm. But because of how we advertised tubas, we wanted to recruit more tubas. That year we got 14 tubas. He was one of them. He said, I think I'm going to play the tuba. It sounds cool. And for the next month, he was asking us, well, what's an E-flat tuba? What's a C tuba? Which one should I get?
My gosh,
this
it
and
was
that,
so great.
Okay? He was one of those kids, and was sending him, the pass-off system just clicked for him.
Yeah.
And pass-off after pass-off after pass-off, constantly just sending him pass-off, supportive parents. It was kind of a perfect storm, for example. But this happens for a lot of students, and if you don't provide the opportunity for them, you just will never know if a student has potential like this. So in 7th grade, during virtual learning, made the all-state band, right? Has more pass-offs than everybody else. We had to create an extra level for this kid
because he's in 7th grade. He's got one
more
year.
Over halfway done with it. And just for example, this level has minor scales on it, has the high school all-state exercises on it, has composition in asymmetrical meters on it. Like,
just the scales.
Yeah.
Like, what tempo are the scales on?
They're at 160.
And he's playing them at 160 in 8th notes.
Yeah, multiple octaves.
On tuba.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a tuba player that can play faster scales than most of our woodwinds.
During a Scale Wars, we give them they have a better chance of winning Scale Wars if they add octaves.
Right. Yeah.
And he came in playing like some kind of
taking
weird
risks.
3 or 4 octave scale. Yeah. Was it clean? No. But did that kid just try to play a 3 or 4 octave scale? Yes, he did. That's the most important thing.
It's amazing. The other thing too is in our database we can see like total number of pass-off points for each class. Mm-hmm. And right now, well, I guess at the end of last year, all the students we had at the end of last year, total number of pass-offs that they've completed is 6,600. Our students have played for us 6,600 times, or completed solos, or done honor bands.
Right.
But that's 6,600 points
that you and I have tabulated.
Yeah.
Since the last 3 years
right.
total. So, because some of those are from 6th graders who just finished 8th grade.
Yep.
So, actually, let's look at beginning band. So, this one's actually I think the most impressive one because you can actually gauge this. So, beginning band.
1312.
So, 1,312 pass-offs. None of those kids got any large amount of bonus points.
Yep.
None of them did any of the tournaments we do. None of them did all county. None of them did all state. Some of them did solo and ensemble and earned 5 or 10 points that way. But other than that, it was 1 point at a time. 1 point at a time. And over the course of 1 year, we were able to hear them 1,300 times.
Yep.
One-on-one, individually. No, probably even more, because that's only the number that they've passed.
Yeah.
That's only the number that they've passed.
So we've probably heard them 3 or 4 times that.
3 or 4 times. Yep, exactly.
Every
Because sometimes
student
students don't
once a
pass
week.
the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every student once a week. And even in the beginning band numbers, so students had just completed 6th grade. They're about to go to 7th grade.
Yeah,
But-
let's just pick one. Let's pick like an average kid, like doesn't have the most but doesn't have the least in any of those sections.
Horn, 35.
A horn player with 30 in beginning band?
Yeah.
No, that's the most.
No, that's not the most.
Who has the most in beginning band?
54. Flute.
Ah, okay. Well, those did solo and ensemble.
Okay.
right.
Here's another. Trombone, 19.
That person did not do solo and ensemble. Okay, yeah, but that person's not the lowest, and that person's definitely not the highest in trombone.
Just kinda
So
in the middle.
19. So let's just put that into perspective. How many weeks of school are there?
I don't know.
Maybe like 35 or 40.
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
So we at least heard that student once a week, 35 times, definitely 19 times.
Definitely. Yeah.
One-on-one. We're saying one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Okay? But probably 3 or 4 times that, simply because they've only passed 19 times. But we can guarantee that we heard them one-on-one 19 times. And we can send that to our administrators and say, do you have any other teachers that hear their students one-on-one at least 19 times and that provide
work
one-on-one feedback 19 times in a year?
at least 19 times.
You
Yeah.
know? But if
Yeah.
you think about it, though, it's kind of like when students are doing silent work in a math test, or I always go to math simply because I remember my math teacher. We would go around the room and just look over our shoulder, things like that.
Yeah.
But if we were doing the problem just fine, she wouldn't bother us, or he wouldn't bother us.
Yeah.
They only went to the students that may have been struggling or raised their hand, right? Regardless of their ability level in band, we hear them one-on-one
Yep.
a lot.
I can't imagine how much better I would have done academically. And I was a straight A student. I graduated with a 3.9 or something from high school.
Be quiet.
I'm just saying, it's not like I had bad grades, but I
Right.
can't imagine how much better I would have done had I had one-on-one time with the teacher in every subject every single week.
That's all of our guidelines. And as you can see, we're really excited about pass-offs. We do have my co-host, Andrew Lopez, uses pass-offs. We're going to do an episode with him as well to talk about how he incorporates it at his school. And we have several friends of ours that are like, what are you doing at your school? And we let them know that this is what we do. Here's how we do it. And they adopt it and use it at their school as well. Totally fine. You can reach out to us if you have more questions. If you'd like to take a look at it, you can go to westgladesbands.org, dig around the website for a little bit. You'll see a link for the Google Drive, which has all our stuff. And in there is a folder for pass-offs that kind of goes over it. As of right now, we're sharing it with our friends and now our listeners.
Yeah.
We are working on offering courses on how to incorporate it into your school and how to build up a system like this on your own for whatever parameters you want to set. Whatever all state requirements are for your I almost said Pacific state.
For your
specific state. Okay, or maybe your high school. The pass-offs work high school as well. We're going to bring on someone that does it with high school. And but yeah, that's basically everything. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I had at least one thing more. I think the biggest thing is we do know some people that have tried it and it has not worked for them, and it's for one reason and only one reason, and it's because they're not consistent with it.
Yeah, you got to stick
have to
with
be
it.
consistent.
And you have to sell it to the students. Actually, this is a good story time. So we heard about the pass-offs at a conference.
Yep.
Before we were doing playing tests, we heard about pass-offs from a friend at a conference. and who heard it from a friend.
Yep.
Right, and I'll just mention the name Dwight Satterwhite, who's band director emeritus from the University of Georgia. Him and his wife Christine developed a pass-off system called Power in the Progress. You should check it out.
Yes, you should.
Because that's where we started from. It's very different from how we do it now, but it was a great foundational way of learning how to assess your students and to motivate them to practice.
And
which
if you're in Georgia, you can see them at GMEA usually, but they are great mentors as well.
Yeah. So the selling point was students can move at their own pace. The more points they earn, the more motivated they are to practice. Students went from hanging out in the band room, about 10% of them hanging out in the band room, to 50 to 60, maybe sometimes 70% of the band program in the band room, not hanging out, practicing. And asking if they can do a pass-off or recording pass-offs.
I mean, they will bug you.
Yeah. So the motivation went way up. But where was I going with that? So we saw it at a conference, and this is where I was going. How to maintain it, how to sell it, and then maintain it.
Yeah.
So when I got back to my band room, I was so ready to do these pass-offs. You were still on the fence about it. You weren't sure.
Yeah. Can I say something about that?
Sure, yeah.
So Christian went to the session on it. I went to a different session. We split up, sometimes at conferences if there are two going on at one time. So I was in a different session. Christian was in the pass-off session of Dwight's, I guess, right?
It was Josh.
It was Josh presenting. Okay.
Who got it from Dwight.
Okay, so he comes back to me and he goes, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And he's telling me all about it. And I said, well, how in the world do you implement that? And he goes, so you do a pass-off day once a week. And I said, so I have to take a whole class day a week and give it up to pass-offs. And he said, yeah, but it's worth it. And I said, I don't know if that's worth it, but you go ahead and try it.
Right. So she let me try it, and I came up with my own system. I just I knew I wanted them to practice scales. Yeah. So I put scales in a spreadsheet with all their names, right? On one axis was all their names, and on the other axis was scales, and then every exercise in their Yamaha Band Essentials book or whatever it was called. Okay? And I would just put the number 1 in a box if they completed that pass off, and then at the very end of the spreadsheet was a column for their total, so that all I had to do was copy and paste with their names and their total. I think it was a row with their total, something like that. Either way, I was able to copy and paste their names next to their total, and I could hang it up on the wall so students could see, and I could click sort on the spreadsheet, and it would sort them into chairs, and then put it on the wall every week, and students would run in every week looking at their chairs, which was cool.
That's not how it started.
But no, that's not how it started. But what I'm saying is, first I put everything in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Because I knew that after the conference, first day back from the conference, I needed to figure out how to sell this. So what was big for me was students got to choose who was what chair. Okay? It was up to them. The person that does the most work sits the highest chair and sits in the highest band, period. Right? Yeah. And so what I did was I had a playing test day. Okay? And I knew it was going to be a bad day. Playing tests were always bad days. Yeah. Because it was the same kids, one, not ready, didn't practice, didn't want to play. Everybody, I couldn't keep everybody quiet.
It's frustrating for you and for them.
And for everybody, right? I already knew it was going to be a bad day, but I was about to turn into a good day, because halfway through I go, what if not all of you are ready to play this exercise today, right? And they said, yeah, no, honestly, I'm not ready. I didn't even practice. I don't even want to do it. And other kids no, I'm ready. I could play it right now. Okay. I was like, okay. Well, what could you play? If those of you that aren't ready to play this exercise, could you possibly do an earlier exercise in the book, like page 4 or page 5? Could you do, oh yeah, I could do that right now. I'm like, okay, go ahead and play one. Okay. See, and I wish and they would play it and they'd do fine. I go, I wish I could give you credit for that, but that's not the test. Okay. And I was like, what if there was a way where you could pick what you're testing on? Like, what if I just said, if you played any exercise in the book, your band essentials book or your scale book, right? Pick any exercise you want. And every exercise you complete, I give you a grade. They were like, oh, yeah, okay. And then now I would love to just give you points, because the person, don't you all agree that the person that does the most exercises should be the highest chair instead of doing these chair tests that nobody wants to do? They're like, yeah, actually that kind of makes sense. Like, the person that does the most work sits the highest chair. Yeah, I don't really care to be first chair, Mr. Gordon. Like, just give me my A and I'm happy. Okay. Well, if you do 10 exercises per 9 weeks, I'll give you an A. Oh, I could do 10 of these. I could pick whichever one I want. I'll just pick 10 that I know I can do. Okay, sounds good. And then instead of sitting here in silence, what if I just let you all practice, and on the other side of the room, I'll call you up one-on-one and just let you play what you want? Like, would you mind trying that? So then we tried it on another day. We tried it. And so students got in line to play a test for me.
Like,
that was the first sign. They got in line. Ooh, can I go next? Ooh, can I go next? I had students volunteering to put a list on the board of the order. I had students wanting to go multiple times in a day. I'm like, wow, okay. And then they're like practicing. I'll send it, like, let's say they don't pass. I'm like, fix this one thing, get back in line. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, got it, I can do that. Get back in line. Then they pass. And then they get back in line because they want to do another one, right? And then I set up a Google Classroom for them to submit pass-offs. And so I would get hundreds of pass-offs on Google Classroom, right? And that's basically how it started. You just kind of have to sell it to them as like, you know, instead of sitting here in silence.
And this being a negative experience.
Make it a positive experience, basically.
Yeah.
And then you start incorporating bonuses. Man, it's just insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's really changed how we've taught. And the other thing is, too, people hear us say that we get hundreds of submissions and they freak out about that. Well, when do you grade those? And how do you get that much done? That's going to take so much time outside of class. We don't work when we go home.
Usually.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay? If there's something like we really have to get done that we didn't get time to do at school, we'll pull our laptops out and work.
As long as you stay on top of it, you know, in a week, you could get anywhere between 30 and 100 submissions, especially if it's at the end of a quarter or at the beginning of beginning bands where they're really motivated to start. You know, but that's fine. It all balances out.
When you first start it too, it's where like the end of that first quarter that you do pass-offs is really bad. Like when we got to Westlades, I remember the first few quarters at the very end, like the day that pass-offs were due, we would have like 300 or something
to grade.
Ridiculous
before grades
in
were due.
One day.
But that was before we incorporated the once a week policy.
Right.
So now that it's completely evened out. This last quarter, we had like 20 left. Submissions because we were hearing kids at least once a week, like making them, and it was part of their grade.
It wasn't
like
many.
A lot of students already had their pass-offs done for the quarter, and so they were chilling. You know, while we were getting the kids that needed extra time, we're getting them caught up.
And the thing is too, we'll tell the kids we grade them one day a week, and so pick your day, you know, whatever day it is. But we'll tell the kids we grade all pass-offs on Sunday every week.
It'll be at least once a week that we will grade your pass-offs.
Right.
You know, sometimes we'll get to school and we'll check who's submitted some. We'll check those, and then we don't have to worry about them for another week or something like that. But at least once a week, sometimes more.
But we tell them once a week, and we tell them the day so that they're not bugging us all week about, hey, I sent you a pass-off yesterday. Did you check it yet?
Right.
Hey, I sent you a pass-off this morning. Did you check it yet? I mean, some kids will still come ask, but...
Yeah, it's funny. They have no understanding of how we run our lives. Like, I sent you a pass-off, and I didn't get a response.
At midnight last night.
Yeah. What time did you send it? Like 10 p.m.? Okay. When was I supposed to check it? They don't think about that necessarily, but
telling them the day that you check it and that it's once a week not only holds you accountable to make sure you're checking it once a week, but it lets the kids know to, hey, be patient. I'm going to give you feedback.
Right. Also, within the book Drive by Daniel H. Pink, he not only talks about autonomy, mastery, and purpose, but he also talks about intrinsic motivation. And so that's another thing that this system helps develop, simply because it motivates the students to practice for the sake of getting better, not necessarily for their grade, or not completely just for their grade or anything else like that. It's not
their chair placement.
Right. It's not a sticks and carrots model. It really helps them focus on a growth mindset, which was Carol Dweck. We kind of combine the two concepts. Growth mindset, meaning you're always going to have struggles. You might as well struggle at this because it's fun, and people grow at different paces, and we're going to help keep you motivated intrinsically by offering you all these great reasons why, outside of sticks and carrots, like you'll get a better grade or anything like that. It's because you want to get better. Here's all the skills that you need, and we set up parameters so that you have all quarter, within certain parameters, you have all quarter, you have unlimited tries. You can pick whichever pass-off you want. It's really, really cool.
And we're not going to punish you by giving you an F because you need more time. Right.
And again, let's say a kid has hit a wall on a pass-off or on a pass-off level, and they don't have any pass-offs by the due date for that quarter. That obviously we give them something else that they can do to help them get over that wall that can count towards that grade. We try to get eliminate Fs as much as possible. If you got an F in band, it's because you wanted an F, literally, you wanted to not do any work, and you wanted to get an F. So
we had a child with an 8% at the end of the year. But that kid didn't come to any classes, didn't submit any work at all.
We hunted him down, contacted parents, know. But other than that, think about it, and is definitely a great system to adopt, and we'll definitely be doing more episodes covering this topic in the future. Reach out if you have questions. We already told you where to look. There was one more thing. You do this with orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
This is not just band. You developed pass-off levels for orchestra.
Yep.
And you did at one point for choir.
I did.
Also. So those of
you
listening,
I ever mastered it for choir.
Right. But if you're a choir person, this is also something that you can incorporate. In fact, I believe all subject areas could be teaching this way. We've done little PDs at our school about how they could do it as well. But another episode, another time. Just keep that in mind. It's not just band, it's also orchestra. If you know any orchestra friends, or maybe you're a band director that also teaches orchestra like Kalyn here, keep that in mind. Okay, we're going to stop. Kalyn, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And this has been the Florida Band Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.